Going live. You are live. I am live. Live on the internet. Live on the World Wide Web. Let's get my juice. So hello and welcome to the weekly stream, the weekly YouTube stream. So I do these streams every Thursday at 8:30 p.m. UK time, 8:30 p.m. Feel free to subscribe to the channel. So you watch it on this channel and you can ask questions as well by either asking to call in or for me to call you, or you can simply write a question out, and you do that through Skype, and my Skype address is Rebekah Maroon. Yes, that's how you do it. And these talks, these streams are about non-duality, which I'm assuming you have some knowledge about, you've heard about, you've come across a book or a teacher before, and there's interest in it, in the subject. So I tend to do about an hour-ish, a bit more, a bit less, depending on if there are any questions, if I feel to keep recording or not. And I start by just sitting and seeing what feeling comes to speak, what words come to speak. I've given this talk a title. And I shall speak on that shortly. It's so funny. So the title of this talk is Who is Living? Who is living? I think that's a great title for a non-duality talk, because non-duality is questioning that deeply held assumption, that deeply held dream that someone is living, that there are individual people, individual entities in the body, in each body living, that there's an independent entity that's in control, that has free will, that can choose to behave this way or behave that way. The individual entity that has responsibility for how life turns out. That there is an independent entity that is experiencing everything. That a story of someone, so a story of someone having had many experiences, gone through many trials and tribulations, somebody that has certain characteristics, certain ways of being, that this somebody is an actual somebody, this story or description of someone is an actual person, an actual looker, an actual thinker, an actual chooser of actions. And this is the suffering of humans. This is the suffering of humans. That I exist, I am somebody in the body, that I am responsible, I make choices, I am a limitation, I end at this front of the body. I am limited and small. This is the suffering. I am limited to thoughts, ideas, and feelings. Maybe you can't hear me. Let me just check. Okay. Hi, Artsby. Hi, Pratchett. On what's being looked at in this subject is the reality of that. The reality that someone has chosen to be here, that someone has chosen to listen, someone has chosen to come into this room, someone has chosen to hear and look and breathe and think and feel and interpret. And a deconstruction seems to happen, a deconstruction of this illusion, this made up illusion. A dismantling of a deep energetic belief, a deep energetic experience of separation, of limitation. And this is called awakening, this dismantling of this dream of you, this seeing through this illusion of you, this collapsing of this energetic illusion of you, of someone living. A dismantling of this belonging to someone, or of life belonging to someone. A dismantling of these movements, these seeming appearances belonging to anyone. How can this belong to anyone? How can life be made into an object, into a form, into a limitation that can be owned by another limitation? That could only appear as an appearance, that could only appear as a seeming moving thing, moving form, an object. But how can there be any objects? How can there be any things separate from anything else? How can wholeness be divided? How can this be divided? It can only be divided in thought, in ideas. Only thought can divide. But what if thoughts are just that, thoughts? What if thoughts aren't true? What if thoughts are like clouds? What if thoughts are just appearances, forms appearing, seeming forms appearing? What if they aren't true? What if there's just everything appearing? What if there's just life happening, seeming to appear, seeming to move, seeming to change, seeming to have variation? But what if it's not true? Then there is this. What is? What is? As it is. As it is. It kind of leaves no problem. It leaves no problem. I'm not fond of this gap. I'm going to try and close it. This doesn't stay here. Let's try and pull it. Oh, you saw my holy t-shirt. I'm trying to hide my holy t-shirt. This is a I'm being very truthful now. This is a maternity top that I had when I was breastfeeding. And I still wear it. I still wear it. But my daughter's like 7, just turned 7. I'm still wearing the maternity top. Oops. I think when you have children, you just stop well, at least maybe I do, stop caring so much about shopping and those things and clothes. Not always, but yeah, that could be a personal thing. Oh God. Okay, we go to Skype. Oh no, I must remember. I have a message in my email. I've remembered. Alethea, I think your name is Alethea. Alethea. Hey Rebekah, thanks for the amazing videos you make on non-duality. I really appreciate them. I have a question for you. Hopefully you can answer it. Can you please talk about the ordinary magic of non-duality and how enlightenment is made to sound like some kind of cosmic, unattainable state? If everything is happening in the now, then every moment in some way is magical and beautiful, like the sound of traffic outside, the pain in the shoulder. I'd love to hear you expand more on the ordinariness of this experience from your perspective. Many thanks and much gratitude. I'm looking for I can't really talk about the ordinary magic of this. Like, it's not really talk aboutable. It's not talk aboutable. It's beyond talking about it. The words of it, the descriptions of it. So it's impossible to talk about the ordinariness of it. It already is ordinary, it already is everything. It doesn't really need to be spoken about. Like, it already is that. So I can't really put it into language, into words. It sounds like some kind of cosmic, unattainable state. It is unattainable. It's not a state, but it is unattainable. It totally is unattainable. You can't attain this. The mind can't attain life. It can't. So in that sense, it is unattainable. Who could attain what is happening? How could you own the breeze, the wind blowing? How can you own what is? Only the mind wants to own something. Only the mind is looking for something. It wants to encapsulate this into a thing so it can have it. An experience, a feeling, knowing. So it's totally unattainable to the mind, to that story of someone. Yeah, I have no more to say on that, really. Thank you for your question. I'll just go back to Skype. Skype. Hi, Prachi. Hi, Rebekah. I'm troubled by thoughts like, if the body isn't real, I should not take care of it. Well, if the body is taken care of, if it's given healthy foods and exercise and it's given massages, if it's taken care of, then that's what happens. If it's neglected and not washed, uncleaned, if it's not fed healthily, if it's abused, then that's what's happening. Who's responsible for that? The mind takes ownership and says, I'm responsible for looking after this body. I can choose to look after it or not look after it. That's the trouble being caused. This sense of I have free will, I have this choice, I am autonomous, I am separate from the life happening, and I must choose to do the right thing or the wrong thing. That's the trouble. That's the trouble. I mean, we can say it's good to feed the body healthy, to exercise, to do all these things, to self-care for the body. We can say all these things. But like, who's in charge of that? Who's in charge of that happening? Who's in charge of that desire, that impulse to exercise or eat healthy? Who's in charge of that? Like, at the moment, this body is trying to exercise more. Well, it is exercising more, and therefore eating a bit healthier due to exercising more. It's a natural feeling to eat healthier. But who's creating that? Thank you, Prachi, for your question. Art P. Watch. Accept. Watching you live. Was your shift of perspective sudden or gradual? What has changed about the story of the character Rebekah? What does it feel like? Was your shift of perspective sudden or gradual? Shift of perspective. It's not a perspective. It's not a perspective. Obviously, it changes. It changes perspective. It's not a perspective. The shift isn't a change of perspective. It's a change in that, like, there's no one looking. It's a change in that, like, it's not belonging to someone. Life isn't belonging to someone. So the edge isn't here anymore. The edge of I'm limited, I'm someone limited, I'm someone in here. Like it's a dissolving of that edge, and so there's boundlessness, there's everything without that limitation. Was it sudden or sudden or gradual? So I have no idea about that question. Was it sudden or gradual? Like it didn't. Well, I heard a. It didn't happen in the past. It didn't happen in time. It didn't happen in the story. That story of it not being this stopped. The story of limitation stopped. This can't start and stop. There's no beginning or end to what this is. the start and the end is for that dream, for that story of limitation. What has changed about the story of the character, Rebekah? I'm not sure what that means. I don't know what that means. I don't know. It doesn't matter all that stuff. It really doesn't matter any of that stuff. I know it's really interesting and juicy to hear about these big stories of these things happening. Like this quest to find this Holy Grail, this quest to find this arrival point. We long for this, a big arrival story, this bigger arrival happening. But what if what I'm speaking about already is? What if it's already the case? It already is happening. It already is free. What you long for isn't in time, isn't in an experience. What if what I'm talking about already is? So this quest for this big thing to happen to you, for you, to experience, for you to have. What if that's never going to happen? What if that's never going to happen? What if this is it? Thank you, Art P. There are no more questions, so we just thank you. Does it require effort, focus, or determination to realize this? Well, I can like think back to stories of there being determination here and intense determination where this was my only interest, non-duality. So there was like intense, because there was such despair. So there was an intense determination. So that was appearing. But that didn't lead to what I'm speaking about now. So that the determination didn't like lead to this, what's happening. But that appeared, this intense focusing on listening to this subject, being in this subject. So the mind went really intensely into it, trying to pull it apart, trying to understand it, trying to grasp it, trying to get to it. It doesn't have to appear like that, but that's the way it happened here. But it doesn't matter. That intensity appears here. That not intensity appears here also. It doesn't matter. It's not going to bring you closer to this. If that's appearing, that's appearing. And you can't get out of that if that's appearing. If it isn't appearing, you can't make it appear. This isn't something that story of you reaches. You don't attain this through your efforts or your not efforts, trying to not attain it. This isn't attained. It just simply is. It simply is. Not a thing, and simultaneously all apparent things. Thank you, Art P. So maybe that's all for this evening. Yeah, so okay, thank you for joining, and back next Thursday at 8:30. Be there or be square. Okay, bye.